Hello, AEGEAN 600 race fans. I'm Dobbs Davis from Seahorse Magazine, here to give you the Wednesday afternoon report, July 10th, for this fourth edition of this great race. We open with the tracker, YB tracker image on the website version. As you can see, the familiar course area and some of the graphics from the Windy Weather app that help tell us a bit about what the wind is doing out on the course. It's been a pretty active day today. I did a show this morning on what was happening last night coming into today. Let's say the second tier of fastest boats have been on their way to the finish line, and we've had a chance to talk to them and debrief a bit. So I'll provide first an overview of where everybody is. A lot of boats are here in the marina at Olympic Marine, but still quite a few out here on the race course. And I have to point out quite a few that have retired. I think the latest head count is 26 boats, so a full third of the fleet have retired from this race for various reasons. I think it shows the toughness of the race itself and maybe some of the teams not being completely prepared for what lie ahead in this challenging event. Now, the big features you see here, of course, are the persistent Meltemi. We've had great breezes throughout the central Aegean and the western part of the Aegean throughout the race from its start on Sunday. We're here Wednesday, so a little over 72 hours into the race. But what has developed that's putting a roadblock into the eastern side of the course is this zone of light air over here. You can see it actually even goes offshore a bit off the coast of Turkey. And unfortunately, those that have been the slower progressing boats in the race have been struggling first to get through the lee of Rhodos. That was yesterday's challenge. Last night's challenge was to get through light air patches here on this leg out of Rhodos, and now making their way up through this zigzag course around Kos and the other islands up here, and I'm just going to zoom in a bit to help tell the tale. Anytime you see tracks that look like this, that just means they're struggling at low speeds. So Aquanomus is an Austrian XP44, 2.5 knots, getting sucked up into the bay here, maybe chasing some wind. Tough going for sure. Pogo 12.5, Franzi, another Austrian boat, 3 knots of wind, 3 knots of boat speed, sorry. So very light air. And interestingly, rather than a westerly, they're actually getting an easterly over here, if you believe the graphics. But nonetheless, not at very high speeds. So Italia 11.98, Susanna O is a Greek boat, and they're traveling along at a whopping 0.6 knots. So not very fast progress at all. This boat is one that has exited the competition. This guy's probably close to doing the same, and it's tough out there for sure. These guys also, really hard going. This is a double-handed boat, very small one, Daler 30.2. However, despite the color and the graphics, going along at 7.1 knots and a nice straight line, this Hermes is a Pogo 12.5. They're actually going along as well. So these guys have some kind of breeze here. They're going along on straight tracks. Maybe they've got a parking lot up ahead, or maybe not. Maybe this wind shift is real and they'll be able to get through here. But this is the challenge out here, folks, and we heard this all day long. This race course has tremendous fun, tremendous breeze, sometimes too much breeze, followed by these massive holes that are out here. And the holes are not in the weather forecast. They're not in the depictions. I mean, here we see one we think is real, but this could just be a construct of the algorithms that create these models. They see a convergence of an easterly pressure against a westerly pressure, and that, of course, causes some sort of cancellation hole. But the details and the reality could be quite different. So the real challenge in the race, in this race, is perseverance and shifting gears and those that do it best are going to get paid off with prizes in the end. Speaking of which, I wanted to go over a little bit on standings. This is the event website, and if you go down to here from the home page to results, the Nautical Cloud folks have done a tremendous job of giving us a platform by which we can see a great amount of data, a great amount of information. It's really been good. So there are 3 rating rule systems used for the fleet out here: the IRC and ORC for monohulls, and MOCRA for multi-hulls. These are the IRC overall standings, and a leaderboard here is based on their elapsed time times their rating, the TCC, which equals corrected time. And those with the lowest corrected times are then winning in corrected time or in rating rule space. We've been focusing on our broadcasts the last day or two on first to finish boats, and those get elapsed time trophies, but not everybody can go out here with a first to finish capable boat. So we rely on rating systems to try to create a fair playing field for everyone. So the Black Pearl has a pretty good margin. Well, actually, if you look at the timing here, this is 3 days, 11 hours, 29:26 in corrected time. Artie is a Maltese, Reichel Pew 42. They're lying in second place in IRC scoring. The delta there is about 38 minutes, and then 2.5 hours, 2.6 hours further back in corrected time is German-based Neomind is a Neo 430, and they sail a great race, by the way. I talked to them today. They've come in right now at 3rd place in the standings, and of course there are boats still out on the race course, and I'm going to show. But before I discuss that, let me just show you the equivalent scoring in ORC system. And in this system, the Neomind is actually the leader. However, the corrected time margins are really close. If you look at this, their victory in ORC overall scoring and corrected time is only 1 minute and 16 seconds over Artie, the Reichel Pew 42 from Malta. And this is just amazing. Of course, they sail the better part, well, let's see, 2 days, 22 hours, so nearly 3 days, 70 hours of racing around the race course, and win by 1 minute and 16. That's an amazingly close margin. Even the guys here on Chocolate 3, who's lying 3rd place in ORC scoring, is only an hour and a half back from Artie. This is a FAR 52, and actually they won the Attica warm-up race that was held on last Friday prior to the Sunday start. I wanted to show one feature here which is pretty cool, and the guys at Nautical Cloud have done this. They can sort out who out on the race course may be a threat to come close in corrected time. Now, these guys, these 4 boats here in ORC scoring are not going to catch the leader, and that's evidenced by the fact that they may rate faster. They are just so far out that they're not going to make it. And this one may have a chance. This is a favorite. Sorry, I don't know what kind of boat that is. I guess I could click on a link and get to that. But for the purposes of this discussion, if they finish sometime in the next 27 minutes and 36 seconds, they could beat the leader in Neomind in corrected time in ORC. But in order to do that, based on their current position, they'd have to do quite well because they're 154 miles out, and their last VMG speed was 6.07 knots. So it's pretty reasonable to assume that they're not going to traverse 154 miles in 27 minutes. So this is kind of a cool way to ascertain who's close and who's not, how far out they are, and whether they're threats to the current leaders. So I think we're pretty safe here in calling Neomind overall winners in ORC scoring, Black Pearl overall leaders or overall winners in IRC scoring. And then for the Mokra multi-hulls, the first to finish boat was Zulu. However, that if you remember from the broadcast the other day, these two finished only about a minute and a half separated. And it turns out that chasing Carol's boat, Argo, is rated just a little bit slower than Zulu, and therefore they've won on corrected time, even though they didn't win the elapsed time record. So this shows you how that works. There's only one other multi-hull boat out on the race course, Picamole, and we could look at whether or not they're a threat to the leader. But with 165 miles to go, it's not looking likely they're gonna traverse the distance needed to get there. So we're pretty safe in calling the Mokra class in corrected time for Argo. So that's a little overview of where things are in corrected time space. And I'll just go one more look back at the tracker and see who's making their final approach. The wind reports at Mykonos have been as depicted here, pretty windy. If you remember, blue is low winds, green is moderate winds, and orange-brown is very windy. They said at Mykonos that it's quite windy there, but then it can be quite calm. So this is another one of these gates around the islands where sometimes there's just so little wind, only to be followed by big blasts of wind. So before sunset tonight, we'll expect to see Red 2 get in. A Phasic Impulse, another Neo 430, similar to Neomind, will be coming in close. And we'll see here if Lon Ale, who has a crown, which means they're leaders in the IRC 3 class, see if they make it in. They've got 85 miles to go, presently at 6 knots. So, yeah, they won't get in until after midnight. But and then that boat's a boat that's dropped out. So anyway, 3 more boats in final approach. Tomorrow at some point, hopefully not too late, we'll start seeing the beginnings of this group getting in, who've been struggling out here on the east side of the course. So that's our second report of today, and we'll wish you all a great evening. Thanks for tuning in to the AEGEAN 600. And for Seahorse Magazine, I'm Dobbs Davis.